The ancient world of the Greeks, a civilization that laid the foundation for much of Western thought and culture, was a realm profoundly shaped by water, an element that permeated every aspect of their lives, from the mundane to the divine. For a civilization nestled amidst the azure expanse of the Aegean, a sea dotted with countless islands and inlets, and Ionian seas, cradled by the Balkan Peninsula and reaching towards distant shores. The ocean was not merely a geographical feature. It wasn't just a boundary or a backdrop. It was a fundamental force, a dynamic and ever-present influence that dictated their way of life, their economy, their political structures, and their very perception of the world, shaping their identity as a people. The jagged coastlines, a testament to the relentless power of the sea, countless islands, each a unique microcosm of Greek culture and society, and deep blue horizons that stretched endlessly towards the unknown were the backdrop to their existence, the canvas upon which they painted their history and their myths. This constant presence of the sea, this intimate relationship with the marine environment, fostered a culture of skilled mariners, men and women who knew the sea as well as they knew their own homes, intrepid explorers driven by a thirst for knowledge and a desire to chart the unknown corners of the world, and ambitious traders who braved treacherous waters to connect distant lands and exchange goods and ideas. The Greeks learned to navigate its currents, mastering the art of sailing and shipbuilding, to respect its unpredictable moods, understanding the power of storms and the fragility of human endeavors in the face of nature's fury, and to harness its bounty, developing sophisticated fishing techniques and utilizing the sea's resources for sustenance and prosperity, building a society that looked outwards across the waves, embracing the opportunities and challenges that the sea presented, for sustenance, wealth, and new horizons, constantly seeking to expand their influence and knowledge through maritime endeavors. This deep, intrinsic connection to the maritime world, this inseparable bond between the Greeks and the sea, naturally flowed into their spiritual and mythological beliefs, shaping their understanding of the cosmos and their place within it. Water was seen as the source of all life, the very essence of existence, a primordial element from which the cosmos itself was believed to have sprung, the origin of everything that existed. It was the lifeblood that nourished their fields, providing the essential irrigation for crops to flourish in the dry Mediterranean climate, through rivers and springs. The veins of the earth that carried life-giving water to every corner of the land quenched their thirst, providing a vital resource for survival in a region where water was often scarce, and cleansed their bodies and souls in sacred rituals, purifying them both physically and spiritually. Every babbling brook, every tranquil lake, a mirror reflecting the sky, every gushing spring, a source of fresh water and renewed hope, and every crashing wave, a reminder of the sea's immense power, was imbued with a divine presence, a manifestation of the gods and spirits who governed the natural world. The Greeks did not see water as a simple, inanimate resource. They didn't just see it as something to drink or use for irrigation. They saw it as a living, breathing entity, a vital force that shaped their world and their destinies, teeming with a complex hierarchy of gods, spirits, and mysterious beings, each with their own domain and influence, who governed its every ripple and surge, its every ebb and flow, its every moment of tranquility and tempest. The dual nature of water, its inherent paradox, its capacity for both creation and destruction, its ability to give life and to take it away, was a concept the Greeks understood intimately, a fundamental truth that shaped their worldview and their relationship with the natural world. The sea could offer calm passage, a smooth and effortless journey across its surface, and a bountiful catch of fish, providing sustenance and livelihoods for coastal communities, facilitating trade and connecting disparate city-states into a shared cultural sphere, fostering communication and exchange of ideas. Yet it could also unleash terrifying storms, unleashing its fury upon unsuspecting sailors, swallowing ships whole, sending them to the depths of the ocean in a matter of moments, and sending sailors to a watery grave without a moment's notice. a constant reminder of the sea's unforgiving nature. This paradox was reflected in their deities, the gods and goddesses who ruled over the waters. They were beings who could be benevolent and generous, offering protection and guidance to those who respected them, guiding lost mariners to safety, illuminating the way through treacherous waters. But they could also be wrathful and vengeful, punishing those who dared to disrespect their domain, embodying the raw, untamable power of a tempest, unleashing their fury upon the mortal world. This respect, born from a mixture of gratitude and fear, a recognition of both the benefits and the dangers of the sea, ensured that the gods of the water were among the most revered, holding a prominent place in the Greek pantheon, and frequently appeased in the Greek pantheon with elaborate rituals and sacrifices designed to maintain their favor. This reverence was woven into the fabric of everyday existence, permeating every aspect of Greek society. Fishermen would offer prayers and libations, pouring offerings into the sea as a sign of respect, before setting out on their voyages, seeking the gods' blessing for a safe and prosperous journey, hoping for a safe return and a full net, a bountiful harvest from the sea's depths. Coastal cities built magnificent temples dedicated to the sea gods to honor their patron sea gods, seeking their favor and protection, seeking their protection from naval attacks and devastating tsunamis, safeguarding their communities from the sea's destructive potential. Even inland, communities dependent on rivers and springs far from the coast for their agriculture relied on the life-giving waters that flowed from the mountains, would hold festivals and make sacrifices, expressing their gratitude for the bounty of the land. To the local nymphs and river gods, the spirits who inhabited and protected these vital water sources, who controlled these vital sources, ensuring the continued flow of water and the prosperity of the community. The tales of these deities were told and retold, passed down through generations, becoming a shared cultural language, a common understanding of the world and the forces that shaped it, that explained the natural world, providing a framework for understanding the cycles of nature and the relationship between humans and the environment, and reinforced the profound, unshakable bond, the deep and lasting connection between the Greek people and the waters that surrounded and sustained them, shaping their identity, their culture, and their destiny. The spiritual landscape of the ancient Greeks was as vast and varied as the waters they navigated. Their world was intimately connected to the sea, the rivers, the springs, and every form of water imaginable. Water was not just a resource, it was a lifeblood, a source of sustenance, a pathway for trade and exploration, and a constant presence in their daily lives. It's no surprise, then, that their mythology teemed with deities associated with water, each embodying different aspects of its power and mystery. This spiritual connection manifested in an astonishingly diverse array of water deities. From the grandest gods to the humblest spirits, the Greek pantheon recognized and revered the power of water in all its forms. These deities weren't just abstract concepts. They were active participants in the world, influencing events, shaping landscapes, and interacting with mortals. This was not a simple or monolithic group of gods, all neatly aligned under a single banner. The Greek understanding of divinity was far more nuanced and complex. They recognized the inherent diversity of the natural world and reflected that diversity in their gods. Instead, it was a complex and sprawling family, interconnected by ties of kinship, rivalry, and shared dominion. Each deity had their own unique personality, their own sphere of influence, and their own stories to tell. Understanding these relationships is key to understanding the Greek worldview. It was a divine ecosystem that mirrored the multifaceted nature of water itself. Just as water could be calm and serene or turbulent and destructive, so too were the deities who governed it. They represented the full spectrum of water's power, from its life-giving properties to its capacity for devastation. The hierarchy of these deities ranged from the most ancient and fundamental forces, beings that emerged from the very chaos of creation, representing the raw, untamed power of the primordial waters. These were the forces that shaped the world itself, laying the foundation for the later generations of gods. To the most localized and humble of spirits, the nymphs and minor deities who watched over individual springs, rivers and wells. These local spirits were deeply connected to the land and the people who lived there, offering blessings and protection in exchange for respect and reverence. At the very beginning were the primordial beings, the first gods and goddesses to emerge from the void. These entities embodied the fundamental elements of the cosmos, including the vast, boundless waters that surrounded and permeated everything. These cosmic entities represented the very essence of water, its boundless potential, its life-giving force, and its capacity for both creation and destruction. They were the source from which all other water deities would eventually spring. These primordial deities predating even the famous gods of Mount Olympus, who would later come to dominate the Greek pantheon. While the Olympians held sway over the mortal world, the primordial beings continued to exert their influence from the depths of the cosmos. At the pinnacle of this divine order stood the mighty Olympian gods, the 12 deities who resided on Mount Olympus and ruled over various aspects of human life and the natural world. Poseidon, brother of Zeus and Hades, was the undisputed king of the sea, the ruler of all that lay beneath the waves. His power was immense, his temper volatile, and his influence felt throughout the Greek world. He was a powerful and often tempestuous figure who wielded his trident, a three-pronged spear that symbolized his dominion over the seas. With this weapon, he could command the waves, summon storms, and even shake the earth itself. Poseidon used his trident to command the oceans, stir the earth with quakes, and summon storms at his will. He was a force to be reckoned with, both feared and respected by mortals and gods alike. Sailors prayed to him for safe passage, while coastal cities offered sacrifices to appease his wrath. Yet, even his immense power did not encompass the entirety of the aquatic domain. The sea was too vast, too mysterious, and too full of life to be governed by a single deity. Other gods and spirits shared in its dominion, each with their own unique roles and responsibilities. The pantheon also included prophetic old men of the sea, ancient and enigmatic figures who possessed deep knowledge of the ocean's secrets and the future that lay hidden within its depths. Among these was Nereus, a wise and benevolent god known for his truthfulness and his ability to see the future. He was the father of the Nereids, the sea nymphs who embodied the beauty and grace of the ocean, and Proteus, a shape-shifting god who could transform himself into any creature or object he desired. He was notoriously difficult to capture, but those who managed to hold onto him could force him to reveal his prophetic knowledge. These old men of the sea held the deep wisdom of the ocean's depths, knowledge that was both valuable and dangerous. Their prophecies were often cryptic and difficult to interpret, but they offered glimpses into the future for those who dared to seek them out. They could reveal the future to mortals brave enough to capture them, but doing so was no easy task. These gods were elusive and powerful, and they did not give up their secrets easily. Descending further into this hierarchy, we encounter the countless nymphs, the spirits of nature, who inhabited every corner of the Greek world. They were the embodiment of the beauty and vitality of the natural world, and they played an important role in the lives of mortals. These female spirits personified every form of water imaginable, from the vast ocean to the smallest spring. They were guardians of the waters, protectors of the creatures that lived within them, and sources of inspiration and healing for those who sought their aid. There were the 50 Nereids, daughters of the wise Nereus, each possessing unique beauty and grace. They were the embodiment of the sea's gentle side, its beauty and its power to soothe and inspire. These Nereids danced in the ocean waves and aided sailors in distress, guiding them through treacherous waters and protecting them from the dangers of the sea. They were seen as benevolent protectors, offering comfort and assistance to those who needed it most. The 3,000 Oceanids, daughters of the great Titan Oceanus, represented the vastness and interconnectedness of the world's waters. They were the embodiment of the rivers, streams and springs that flowed across the land, nourishing life and connecting communities. These Oceanids presided over the world's rivers, springs and wells, ensuring that the waters remained pure and plentiful. They were worshipped as goddesses of fertility and abundance, and their presence was essential for the prosperity of the land. There were also the naiads of the freshwater streams, the spirits who guarded the purity and vitality of these vital waterways. They were often associated with healing and rejuvenation, and their waters were believed to have magical properties. The Crenai of the fountains, who watched over the springs and wells that provided fresh water to communities. They were revered as symbols of life and sustenance, and their fountains were often decorated with offerings and prayers. And the Limnades of the lakes, who embodied the tranquility and mystery of these still waters. They were often associated with dreams and visions, and their lakes were seen as gateways to the underworld. Each group of nymphs imbuing the landscape with a sacred presence, reminding mortals of the divine power that resided within the natural world. Their presence transformed ordinary places into sacred spaces where humans could connect with the gods and receive their blessings, making every sip of water a communion with the divine, a reminder of the life-giving power of the gods and the interconnectedness of all things. Water was not just a resource to be consumed, it was a sacred element to be revered and respected. This divine assembly was not limited to benevolent spirits. The Greeks recognized that water could also be a source of danger and destruction, and they populated their mythology with creatures that embodied these darker aspects. The Greeks also imagined a host of tricksters, monsters, and malevolent beings who lurked beneath the waves, waiting to prey on unsuspecting mortals. These creatures represented the hidden dangers of the sea, the unpredictable forces that could bring ruin and despair. And even mortals transformed to divine status, blurring the lines between the human and the divine. These transformations often served as cautionary tales, reminding mortals of the consequences of hubris and the power of the gods to shape their destinies. Beings like the Telchines were master craftsmen but also feared sorcerers, skilled in the arts of metalworking and magic, but also known for their malevolence and their ability to control the weather. They were capable of bringing ruin with their evil eye, casting curses and summoning storms to punish those who displeased them. Their presence served as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of respecting the forces of nature. Monsters like Scylla, a terrifying creature with multiple heads and a taste for human flesh, haunted the narrow straits between Italy and Sicily, posing a deadly threat to sailors. And Charybdis, a monstrous whirlpool that swallowed ships whole, lurked nearby, creating a gauntlet of terror that few could survive. Together, Scylla and Charybdis represented the unpredictable and deadly nature of the sea. These monsters personified the deadly dangers of treacherous sea passages, reminding sailors of the constant threat of shipwreck and death. Navigating these waters required skill, courage, and a healthy dose of respect for the power of the sea. Even mortals could join the ranks of the sea gods, achieving immortality and divine status through acts of heroism, piety, or simply the favor of the gods. These transformations served as a testament to the potential for human greatness and the power of the divine to elevate mortals to new heights. Such as Princess Ino, who became the goddess Leucothea, a benevolent sea goddess who offered aid to sailors in distress. Her transformation was a reward for her compassion and her willingness to sacrifice herself for others. After leaping into the sea, thereafter acting as a savior to the shipwrecked, guiding them to safety and offering them comfort in their time of need. She became a symbol of hope and salvation for those lost at sea, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, divine help was always possible. This rich tapestry of beings illustrates the Greek attempt to make sense of the world around them, to understand the forces that shape their lives, and to find meaning in the face of the unknown. Their mythology was a reflection of their values, their beliefs, and their fears. It was an attempt to categorize and understand every facet of their watery world, from the smallest spring to the vast ocean, and to find their place within the grand scheme of the cosmos. By personifying these forces, they could better relate to them, appease them, and ultimately control them. The influence of the water deities, those powerful figures who commanded the seas, rivers and springs, permeated every layer of ancient Greek culture, shaping their beliefs, their art and their daily lives in profound ways. It wasn't merely a superficial nod to the powers of the ocean, it was a deep-seated integration into the very fabric of their society, extending far beyond simple worship, beyond the routine offerings and prayers whispered in temples. The water deities were integral to their understanding of the world, or explanations for natural phenomena. They weren't just seeking to understand why the waves crashed or the rivers flooded. They were seeking to understand their place within a cosmos governed by these powerful entities. Their stories were foundational to Greek cosmogony, the very bedrock upon which their understanding of existence was built, the very myths that explained the creation of the universe, the origins of life, and the forces that shaped their world. These weren't just bedtime stories, they were the fundamental truths of their existence and the ordering of the world. They dictated the seasons, the tides, and the very boundaries of their known lands. In some of the earliest accounts, predating even the Olympian gods as we know them, the world was believed to be encircled by the great freshwater river Oceanus, a being of immense power and ancient origin, a Titan who, with his consort Tethys, a figure often overlooked but equally vital, fathered all the other rivers and countless divine spirits, the nymphs and naiads who inhabited every spring and stream. These lesser deities were seen as extensions of Oceanus and Tethys, further emphasizing the pervasive influence of water. This placed water not just as an element within the world, a component of their physical reality, but as the boundary and source of the world itself, the very origin from which all things sprung, the ultimate limit of their understanding. A concept that highlights its supreme importance in the early Greek imagination, shaping their philosophical inquiries and their artistic expressions, and its parallels with other ancient Near Eastern creation myths, suggesting a shared cultural heritage and a common understanding of the fundamental role of water in the cosmos. This connection highlights the interconnectedness of ancient civilizations and their shared reliance on the life-giving power of water. This mythological framework had a direct and tangible impact, a ripple effect that touched every aspect of their existence. On the daily lives of the Greek people, influencing their decisions, their fears and their hopes. It was a constant presence, a silent force shaping their world. For a society so reliant on maritime trade and naval power, where ships were their lifelines and the sea their highway, the favour of the sea gods was a matter of life and death, a constant negotiation with forces beyond their control. Every voyage was a gamble, every storm a potential disaster, of prosperity and ruin, determining the fate of entire cities and the fortunes of countless individuals. A calm sea meant thriving commerce. A raging storm meant devastation and despair. Poseidon, as the master of the sea, the earthshaker, the wielder of the trident, was a patron of numerous powerful port cities, cities that owed their wealth and influence to the sea. These cities recognized his power and sought his favour through elaborate rituals and grand temples, and his temples often dominated their harbours, serving as a constant reminder of his power and influence over their lives. These temples were not just places of worship, they were symbols of their dependence on the sea and its ruler. Sailors would carry protective amulets, small tokens inscribed with symbols of the sea gods, and whisper prayers to the Dioscuri, Castor and Pollux, the twin sons of Zeus, who were believed to appear as St. Elmo's fire, an electrical phenomenon in the rigging of ships to signal the end of a storm, a sign of divine intervention and a promise of safe passage. This was seen as a direct blessing from the gods, a moment of hope in the face of overwhelming danger. The myths provided a guide for how to interact with the sea, a moral compass for navigating both the physical and spiritual realms, a set of rules and rituals designed to appease its powerful rulers, to maintain harmony between humanity and the divine forces that govern the oceans. These rituals were often elaborate and deeply symbolic, reflecting the importance of maintaining a positive relationship with the sea gods, and ensure safe passage and a prosperous journey, a successful voyage that would bring wealth and glory to their city. The sea was both a source of opportunity and a source of danger, and the Greeks sought to mitigate the risks through piety and respect. The legends and lore of the water deities, the tales of their triumphs and their tragedies, also provided a rich and seemingly endless wellspring of inspiration, fueling the creative spirit of the Greeks for centuries. For Greek literature and art, shaping their narratives and their visual representations of the world, becoming cornerstones of their cultural heritage, defining their identity and their place in the world. The epic poems of Homer, the foundational texts of Western literature, the Iliad and the Odyssey, tales of war and homecoming, of heroes and monsters, are saturated with the influence of the sea gods, their presence felt in every wave and every storm. In the Iliad, the sea nymph Tethys is a pivotal character, a powerful goddess who intervenes in the affairs of mortals, using her influence with Zeus to aid her son Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Achaean army. Her divine intervention shapes the course of the Trojan War. In the Odyssey, the entire narrative of Odysseus's 10-year journey home, a perilous voyage filled with trials and tribulations, is driven by the relentless wrath of Poseidon, who seeks revenge for the blinding of his son, the Cyclops Polyphemus, who acts as the hero's primary divine antagonist, constantly thwarting Odysseus's efforts to return to his homeland. This conflict highlights the power and capriciousness of the sea gods. These stories were not just entertainment. They were not mere diversions to pass the time. They were educational tools that explored themes of fate, piety, hubris, the dangers of excessive pride, and the immense power of the natural world, the forces that could both sustain and destroy them. They served as cautionary tales and moral lessons, shaping the values of Greek society. This influence is vividly preserved in the visual arts, in the sculptures, paintings and mosaics that have survived the ravages of time. From the dynamic scenes on black and red figure pottery, depicting epic battles and mythological encounters, showing heroes wrestling with shape-shifting sea gods, a testament to the power and adaptability of these divine beings, to the grand marble sculptures that adorn temples, celebrating the glory and majesty of the gods. The aquatic deities were a favorite subject, their images immortalized in stone and clay. Later, in the Hellenistic and Roman periods, as Greek culture spread and evolved, intricate and beautiful mosaics depicting the marine Thyasos, a vibrant and celebratory scene, a triumphant procession of sea gods, nymphs, and mythical sea creatures, became increasingly popular, showcasing the enduring fascination with the aquatic realm. Became a popular decoration for public baths and private villas, adding a touch of luxury and mythological significance to everyday life. These artistic representations helped to standardize the iconography of the deities, establishing a visual language that would be understood across different regions and time periods, and ensured that their images, and therefore their stories and significance, would not be forgotten, preserving their legacy for future generations. Would be passed down through the generations, becoming an integral part of their cultural identity and their understanding of the world. Becoming an indelible part of the Western artistic and cultural tradition, a legacy that continues to inspire and influence artists and thinkers to this day. The echoes of the sea gods resonate through the ages, a testament to their enduring power and significance.